Welcome to the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic's video live stream out of Cleveland, Ohio. We're going to speak with writer Cat Gina Cole today about her book about psychic development, and hope y'all are here. Welcome everyone. Dealing with a bit of a cold today, so yeah, this is all right. So here am I. There's Cat, and over there is Tony. How you doing, Cat?
Doing pretty well. Yourself?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I feel like maybe I have a bit of a cold going on that's just started coming on in the last couple hours, but yeah, so it goes. Welcome, Tony.
Hi, Stephen.
How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I know. So anyway, welcome, Cat. It's been a long time coming. We started talking about doing this interview a few months ago. So welcome to the Buckland Museum. Just kind of curious, how did you hear about us here in Cleveland, Ohio?
Oh, well, I heard about you guys probably through books and other things first, but more personally, when I attended the 2018 PantheaCon with Oberon Zell, and he was at your event and donated one of his wands. And I was with him for that occasion. And that just started my connection with you guys. And it's been a great one.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent to have you here. So we got in touch. You got in touch with us recently with a giant donation of periodicals of early American paganism and witchcraft. And we've started a scanning process of that. I go over to the Cleveland Library once every couple of weeks, and I block off a period of time, and then I just scan American occult history. And thank you so much for it. Can you let us know how you came across this beautiful treasure trove of information?
Yeah. Oberon Zell and I were at the Eugene, Oregon Pagan Pride August last year. And this lovely person, Sirna Brand, Brandt, noticed us there. And her partner had passed away, Laura Wood, quite a while ago. And apparently Laura had collected all of this stuff over the years from the 60s forward. And Sirna decided that Oberon should have those. And as Oberon was in transition, they all came home with me. Alice and I are pretty close. And so there was a process of getting them all sorted and cataloged and figuring out what we want to do and getting Oberon all of the information from him that he wanted first. And then there was a chunk of people that started hearing that I had them, and they were like, me. And I was like, oh no, they're going to the museum where they belong. So that's why I contacted you and got them sent. And wow, what a variety of stuff.
Yeah, a massive variety of stuff. Probably the things that stood out the most to me were the green eggs that you sent, but also Llewellyn's Gnostica magazines, which a very massive run of those. And the one thing that I thought was a surprise that I was just blew me away was the Pentagram newsletter. And the Pentagram newsletter was a newsletter that was edited by Doreen Valiente, one of Gerald Gardner's great high priestesses. And it's when she was spending a lot of time with Robert Cochrane, and it's just a very fascinating document. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Tony will tell you, she makes fun of me. I welled up with tears when I opened that, right, Tony?
He did.
Yeah.
Oh, my hands shook when I realized what I had in my hand from 1963 and 1964, edited by Doreen, I mean, my hand shook. I was like, oh crap, and we've smoked in this room, and I'm zipping them out into some other room, and I'm just like, oh, all of a sudden this is the holy document.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much for like thinking about us enough where you would send those over. It's
Well,
a
I
joy to
really
explore.
wanted I wanted the public to have access, and this history, this literary history belongs to the people. And I share that value with you guys. And it doesn't really belong to somebody that's just going to hide it, archive it, or make a buck on it. I just couldn't see that. It's not in my value system. And it was my way of sharing with the entire pagan community. What's in there, a loose log of what is now at your museum, is there is a huge collection of the Gnostica newspaper created by Llewellyn, ranging from the late 60s all the way up, I think, possibly into the late 80s. And then, and the Gnostica newspaper is an actual newspaper, folks. And I mean, huge newspaper size when you unfold it. And some of the amusing stuff is that in like their letters to the editor and stuff, it was very similar to the Green Egg Forum, which is notorious for letting people say whatever they wanted to say and still printing it. So there's some pretty amusing things in there. There's articles from Buckland and about Gardner in there, quite a few notable people. One of my favorites was the Dr. Leo Martello works. This was such an interesting experience. I really did not know about Leo Martello until I got these documents. I'm like, well, who's this guy? So I'm looking him up. And again, it was like, oh my goodness. And then the realization, being a witch and being psychic, I'm sure this happens in your museum all the time, knowing that he probably had his hands on these at some point because they are typewritten with a typewriter.
Yeah.
And stapled together and
mimeographed. I mean, Leo is definitely a DIY guy, and he ran everything out of something, Hero Press, which was his office. So I'm sure he picked them up at the printer, and he probably folded them, and he probably stuck them in an envelope to send them out there to like many other witches might send out their flying monkeys to go around the world and
exactly.
go create inspire a lot of people. That's the thing that I love the most about Leo Martello is he seemed to have influenced so many people to go be the person that they needed to be, which and you see it in those issues. And my absolute favorite thing going through them was very controversial, really, because it starts off with the first couple issues. You could tell they doesn't really think very much of Ray Buckland. You could tell that they've had words in the past, and then you see it kind of loosen. And by issue 30, he's talking about his dear, Ray Buckland. I can't remember how he refers to him, but you could see that like things had patched up very well, and I thought that was cool because I didn't really, when I first started going through them, I got very nervous about this because my two favorite witches are in an argument here. So it was nice that 50 years ago they had patched things up, and I was like,
right, that's so cool. It is. There were a lot of witches in arguments going through those magazines and going through the Green Egg and a variety of other things. I found it very interesting. I think it was mostly the Green Egg that had a lot of the actual lineage and history. I don't remember the specifics. I don't have my notes at hand, which I should have. But there was an Alexandrian thing coven going on that they were speaking about in the Green Egg, and he was talking about what part of that Alexandrian with whom, and they were splitting up, and there was some kind of council that somebody was doing something with. And I called Oberon. It was fascinating because any of these historical documents I had in my hand, I could call Oberon and go, hey, what was really going on?
Yeah.
And I've taken a lot of notes, and I hope to do some writing on that in the future. And, he'd set it all straight. I drove 300 miles for that meeting and various things like that. And because of my doing that, and I could either call him or Phaedra Bonowitz or Aiden Kelly and ask him what was going on. But Oz told me a very fascinating story about Gwydion Penderwin. And that was wonderful to get to know. And I love learning history from talking to people is much better. But I feel like it's important to know the history and know from whence our practices come from, who did the forework. I mean, those people, if they had not done what they had done, none of us would be able to practice as openly as we have.
I think about that quite a bit with the idea that Ray told me once that somebody set his car on fire. And I always think about that, where it's like everybody, that's persecution in the modern age. I mean, that's straight up terrorism. And Ray, by just the things that he had done at that time, and that's the thing, is going through the Green Eggs, going through the Gnosticas, there would be a little blurb about how there were some evangelicals causing some problems, and Tim Zell would be leading a counter protest. And these are people that did some very heavy lifting for for the three of us, and I'm assuming our audience here, to go and be who they are. Very grateful.
Absolutely.
So we have Christy Mann says, hiya, everyone. Hiya, Christy.
Hi, Christy. Christy Mann is the owner and producer of the Metaphysical Times.
Oh, cool.
A new pagan newspaper that is going out. Metaphysicalnews.com, I think. Pardon me, Christy, if I don't get that correct. And I write an article for her every now and then.
Oh, cool. And it's a newspaper.
Yeah, they had it in hard copy for a while, but I think they may have gone digital, or they are doing both. We'll have to check back with Christy on those details.
Oh, cool. So, here we got a link. What's up?
There it goes. Thank you, Christy.
Yeah, thank you, Christy.
My old memory is like Swiss cheese sometimes.
Yeah, I feel that myself. So, Tony, you got any questions here for Cat?
I do. Actually, if you don't mind, I want to talk about this book. This book. Holy smokes. I'm glad that I have read it now. I wish that I had it a lot longer ago. Really do. There's a lot of things in here that, in reading through with your exercises and the letting go, the pausing, I know these activities, I know these exercises, but I never had a name for them. And I didn't have anyone growing up. I was the only one. So I kind of made do how I tried to convince myself that I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, I grew up similar to your background, but I didn't have anyone to help or coach. And I really wish I had this book. This book has been amazing. And it's explained to me a lot of the things that I have gone through and what goes on in my head when I'm hearing something, seeing something, and you explain it so well here. Does that make any sense?
It's exactly why it's exactly why I wrote the book. Your words touch my heart because, like I said, you and everyone like you that did not have someone that had things happen but didn't have the words that felt kind of odd about them.
I
They
still don't have the words. You hear me like I'm trying to explain it, but you can't. It's hard to explain.
It is very hard to explain, but you are the exact kind of person I wrote that book for, and that was born out of being sworn to secrecy and only talking to my mother and grandmother about these things and really desiring others of my own age to talk to, someone else that could kind of put it in a closer language, and I knew I couldn't be the only one like me out there. And so the journey to writing a book is I was a prolific journaler anyway. So most of the content was already written in some form. And when my husband came on the scene, he's like, "You're writing a book." I said, "I am not writing a book. I was just writing journaling and lessons and stuff." And he's like, "You're writing a book." No, no, no. And then a little while later, um, I channeled a being named Fable, and she was the one that got me. She came. She's told me that she came to help me write what I know, and that was really the beginning of getting serious about writing a book, even though I wasn't sure I was writing a book at the time. Hello to everyone out there. It's good to see you.
You had mentioned, along with growing up with psychic skills, that you also grew up in the drug and alcohol community. And, that is kind of a parallel as well. My mother is a drug and alcohol counselor and has been my entire life. So I grew up in that sort of a household. You had mentioned that in like working with the methadone clinics, that you had noticed that a majority, well, I can't remember the percentage, a little less than half or half, actually were covering over their psychic abilities with, medication or alcohol can you explain that?
Sure. I didn't grow up in the alcohol drug community. I came to that later as something I chose to do as a profession. And it was during that time, I felt kind of awkward because, with my psychic skills, I would know things and feel things about my clients. And I felt a little awkward about where to place that until I got Judica Isles' book, Second Sight. That sort of gave me permission. And things went from there. And of 50% of my clients, at least 2/3 of them were self-medicating psychic spiritual stuff that was getting labeled or bleeding over into the mental health stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And it took a lot of copious notes and observation to ferret the two out, and to be very, very clear. So it's kind of cute these days when I get a new student, they're like, "How can you tell if what's going on for me is mental health or if it's psychic spiritual?" And I'm like, 20 years of note taking and clients, and getting my master's in social work. But, and a lot of it does bleed over and some of it does mask other things, and you really have to be observant and know the labels. I'm not really a person that likes labels, but in this case and in this topic, it's super helpful, as you kind of mentioned yourself, to know, oh, that's what this is.
Right.
Oh, that's what's going on. And it makes a huge difference to people. Huge, huge difference. And I just want to tell anybody out there that's kind of going through that, to encourage them to explore that, and there's some of my students, current students, that I say, you also have to have a counselor in addition to what we do. And you
Sure.
keep the two separate.
Right. Right.
Well, Israel Regarde said that you should have at least 2 years of psychotherapy before you go really delve deep into magic. So,
Well,
no,
I'll chalk that up to shadow work.
Yeah. So,
Now, I have a question. You said that in the book, both your mother and your grandmother were psychic as well, but you were closer to your grandmother. Your mother kind of didn't want to acknowledge, or how did that?
Actually, it was interesting. My mother was good at masking, and I was the only one she would acknowledge those things to.
Okay.
Because the rest of the family was Christian or Catholic. And while she had me growing up in the Salvation Army Church as a youngster, and it was a good experience, she would sit down next to me with the Bible and go, that's an incantation. That's dream work. That's spell work. But whispering.
Right.
Grandma was just more traditional. Mom was a little more modern. Mom was interfaith, where grandma really wasn't. Grandma was more about a closed family system. Those kinds of differences.
I see. Okay. Okay. Stephen, you can interject at any time.
I don't know. It's kind of like your thing, Tony. But one thing I do.
It is.
So I'm very curious about a couple things. So in this list, can you tell me what your favorite is, Cat? Okay. Astrogyromancy, bibliomancy, cartomancy, crystallomancy, hydromancy, telekinesis, psychokinesis, and automatic writing, which is like the one where if I said, do one of these, you'd be like, all right, this is where I'm really, really, really excited.
Now, there's two at the top of that list: bibliomancy and automatic writing.
Okay. All right. So why don't you explain what the two of those are and what's the difference?
Well, bibliomancy, I think a lot of people experience bibliomancy without even realizing it. You're going along and like in a library behind me, and all of a sudden that book is like, ooh, that one, And I have enlarged that a little bit further when I'm like in the middle of freeform writing out in the living room, for example, and I'm like, I need a book, but I'm not sure which book. And I'll walk in here and I'll be like, reveal. And I'll feel it's like picking a tarot card almost.
Yeah.
And I'll feel for that and let that book jump out at me. And then the bibliomancy, the divination part of it all, is you hold the book by the spine kind of loosely, and some blow on it, some do not. Right? Hold it by the spine. Come on, baby, respond. That's it. There we go. Oh, look at that. Ritual tools.
Something that we have a lot of around here.
Right. Me too. And then as you read that particular page, something that you read on that page will speak out to you and be important and relevant to what you were, working on. And that is pretty much bibliomancy, and it can be with any book.
round and round, around it goes.
That's exactly right. This one was talking about drinking horns being important.
Drinking horns?
Yes, drinking horns.
Okay. I think I had those cups when I was a kid.
I got those down through the family. They're Franciscan something. I love them though. They're just witchy enough looking.
Very groovy. So, sorry, Tony, you want to take over for a second here?
Yeah. So, in your book here, it's page 92, 93, you're journaling. And speaking of tools, so you did, and I found this fascinating. I have never in my life even considered doing a guided meditation through the tarot deck. And you never thought, I never crossed my mind. And I'm reading this about the magician and the magician's tools and how he was. Can you describe this? It was August 15th. You did this. I can't wait to do it. I cannot wait to do this.
Well, my good friend Phaedra Bonowitz got me started on the tarot trances. And some of my trances will last a half an hour, some can last 3 hours. So, trancing begins with meditation, relaxation. Meditation is like layers, and you get a little deeper, till you're kind of on that almost edge verge of sleep, but not quite.
Right.
Your whole self is asleep except for your consciousness.
The hypnagogic state.
Yes, it's a self-induced hypnagogic state. And the goal was to walk into the magician's world and ask him to show me a day in his world. And as you see in most magician cards, they have all the tools in front of them. And he showed me each and every tool and what he used it for, and some of the amazing things that I learned from him. And now let me clarify, UPG, unverified personal gnosis is what this falls under, which is for each and every person to discern for themselves. This is not written in stone fact.
Right.
So he showed me Oz just joined us. Lovely. He showed me what to use the tools for, and each one had portals, and I hadn't really thought about that. I thought about the directions and the elements and how they're related to that, but I knew about other worlds, but I had not thought of using the altar tools to access those other portals and other worlds. And he showed me how to do that in this trance.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. I just get really excited about learning magic from the other side.
Right. That was fascinating. I had never thought about that. And each particular tool had a different portal for.
And vast worlds behind it too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. Very interesting. I have a hard time meditating. I almost have to have someone helping me to guide me through those meditations. And in your book, you had suggested maybe getting a friend to help read it for you, or that's difficult for me because I'm personal that way. I wouldn't trust a friend. I would almost want to ask you if you could tape it for me and maybe sell it, and I'll, the guided meditation. The meditations are wonderful in here.
Thank you.
I was going to ask about that because you were like the whole thing about taping it. I thought, well, that's cool, but there's somebody out there, meaning you, that should probably be the one doing it.
Well, I will certainly consider that. Thank you for the idea. That section was kind of for people who are neurodiverse or ADD, that have a little, or even some folk who have insomnia, fall in this category. of having a hard time meditating, and at being ADD, could be very difficult for me at times. And so I would either record it myself and play it for myself, you know, and that really worked because I feel you on the personal space thing, and so that was pretty helpful to myself and some of my students to kind of break the ice and get them going. And then other tools that I use to help me with meditation and stay in meditation is a sleep mask. The other thing is a fur, something tactile to distract me. And that's just enough with my ADD to kind of distract me just enough to keep me focused. If that makes sense, it'll make sense to ADD people.
Okay.
And so that's why I
Well, it
included
makes
that.
sense to me. So, yeah, very much so. So, like you said, Oberon just popped in. Hey, Oberon, we were just talking about you. Welcome to the live stream. Hope everything is amazing.
Well, since Oz is here, now would be a good time to do this. I want to give a shout out to everybody in the Oberon Zell friend and fan group on Facebook. Hello, everyone out there, if you're here. And Oz is with us too. Stephen and Tony, the curators of the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft, look at all those green eggs. Oh my gosh. Have most of the entire collection of the green egg. However, what they would love for you to send them is volume 1, number 44, through to the very first green egg. That is what they are short on, and that is what they are looking for. And if anybody has that, you can certainly contact Stephen or Tony at the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and see if we can get them a full collection.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. So Oberon, you're listening in, so now I can go through the whole thing again. Going through these, it's the first time I ever saw Oberon, I was a little kid. He was on a TV show called Real People. Okay, so I always knew Oberon was a big deal. And then, but just going through the history of those green eggs, and when did you sleep? Did you ever sleep? Do you sleep now? I don't know. It's a lot of time and effort put in these incredible volumes here, and what would the pagan world look like if you hadn't taken that time and effort to do it? I don't know. I just with the deep dives that I've gone into them recently, just the more and more I think, just thank you, Oberon, for the sacrifice that you had done to get this, to create these incredible documents.
Yeah, a big thank you to Oberon and to everyone that ever worked with him. Yeah, mine. And anyone who ever worked with him, all those articles, all those people who walked in history, And look at him, he's like, never time to sleep. Yeah. Wizard's job is never done.
Am I live to talk? Yeah. You want to hop on? I'll send you a link. So, Gina, you mind if Oberon pops on for a while?
Not at all. I saw his sweet face yesterday. We were picking out some cover art for the next green egg. There are a couple of artists I want to shout out to, Aurora May and Ava Creature on Facebook. They are amazing artists, and I hooked them up with Green Egg, and Aurora has been doing the cover for a while, and this time we're going to probably go with Ava's work. We met them too through Eugene Pagan. Well, Ava through Eugene Pagan Pride. And Aurora's been a friend of mine for a while. Amazing artwork. I think Stephen was looking at them earlier today, weren't you?
Yes. Yeah, and looking at them, both of these artists look like they are part of the same tradition as all the green egg ones. It was really cool to see it like being part of a living tradition. So, Oberon, if you're there, I just sent you a link to where to pop on via Facebook Messenger. So if you have the messenger going, pop on in. Let's hang out for a little bit.
It'll probably take him a bit, but he'll come on in a little while. So you look like you have a question, Tony.
I do. So, astral projection has been a thing of mine for a while. And I'm looking for the chapter here. I can't find it. You were discussing OBEs versus in astral projection, that they are not the same. I always thought that they were.
Well, the thing that with being somebody that takes copious notes and notices the minutia difference, the very small, subtle differences, it was surprising how much difference those small things can make in an experience. And the out of body experience is on the here and now in this world. It is tied into remote viewing and clairvoyance through time and space, which is what that is. It's got a couple of different labels. And so then astral travel is out into what I call the beyond. And that's certainly not the here and now, anywhere but the here and now.
Okay.
And it's just as vast.
Hello, Oberon.
Hey, Oz.
Oberon, welcome. All right. So
like
Oberon hasn't changed. So either he's in deep meditation or his computer's frozen.
Right.
So I'm going to remove him, and then we're going to add him back. Yeah. All right, Oberon. Maybe the connection isn't quite as tight. So
he's saying oh, there we go.
There we go. There. Okay.
He's still struggling with a really bad connection.
All right. Well, it's good to see you.
Right.
There we hear him. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the Buckle Museum Frankenstein Radio Controls, live out of Cleveland, Ohio, Columbus. Where are you, Cat? Like Tacoma or something?
Bedford, Oregon, Southern Oregon.
Okay. So,
yeah.
All right. Oberon, it looks like your connection isn't that great. So let's have you on sometime soon. And we'll invite you to be on as well. That's fine. So
good to see you anyway, Oz.
Yeah.
So, Tony, did you have a further question about the astral travel and the OBE?
No, I just always thought that they were one and the same. But in reading, and I understood, but I just always thought that those were kind of the same thing.
And I used to as well, and a lot of people still do. I mean, I get it how things cross over or symbiotic, or synonyms to each other and so on. And but again, like I said, to notice those really subtle differences can make a huge difference, because it's like, if you want to go astral traveling and you're not going off world and you think you're astral traveling when you're not building the skills that you're really after.
Yeah.
You are actually building remote viewing skills and maybe even getting quite good at it. So it'll make a difference in knowing what you're learning.
Right. My astral travels are different. Sometimes lucid, but they don't make any sense.
Mm.
They don't make any sense. You run into people, and I can't even explain, and I feel weird explaining it in front of Steven, because he think my beliefs are a little odd anyway. But
Aw.
I would not say that at all.
right,
I think it's fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah. So
No, usually my astral travels that I can recall, I'm usually in a place that's not here, and the people look very different, and they're very aware that I'm not supposed to be there, but I'm not. I don't know that I'm not. Does that make sense?
Yes,
They know I'm
because
not
you
supposed
are in an etheric form. Sometimes they see you, sometimes they do not. It's like you're a ghost in their universe.
to. Okay.
You
I never
know.
understood it. I never really had anyone to explain it to me.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, there's a variety. You can be very tactile and engaged and living in that plane or realm, in that particular travel, and then in other places they won't see and hear you. It's like you're invisible, and
Yeah,
some you can talk to them, and some everything is telepathy. It's
right.
thought. Everything is thought and done by thought, and that means movement, that means speaking, running, anything, is created by thought, space travel, whatever it is. And some of my astral travels have been wild. And so conversely, Young talks about dreams being an aspect of ourselves. So in a dream, you often feel like either you are the observer or you are also observing another you
Right.
in your dreams doing things. And that's kind of a slight difference, one of the slight differences between dreaming and astral travel. Because in astral travel, you are fully engaged. Whether you're etheric or not, you're engaged.
Yeah. It's different. It is different.
so I have to ask both of you. You ever been in a situation during your astral travel where actually we got to send some good Baby Yoda healing vibes to? We're right by a couple of hospitals here, so all day long ambulances go by, and I always try to send some good positive energy to the people going by. So anyway, the two of you ever feel like you're in any sort of danger when you're conducting your astral travel? Like,
Tony?
I personally have not felt like I was in danger, but the people around me felt like I was in danger and that I was not supposed to be there. They would do a do you know where you are? You're not supposed to, you should not be here. You gotta go. And I'm like, what? I'm just looking around. So I never personally felt like I was in danger, but everyone was saying, you gotta go. Go, go, go. Go now. And that's so not me personally, but everyone around did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. For myself, I have seen plenty that was dangerous. And I've fallen off the cliff and hit the bottom. There's that rumor that you die when that happens, and I part way down, I was like, I'm just going to let this happen, see what goes on. So I did that. And then I stood up, was like, what's down here? And I have seen some scary stuff. I think that the most thing that a lot of people get hung up on about astral travel is two things. One is getting lost, and two is getting lost, and two is getting stuck, but three is sleep paralysis.
Oh, yeah.
So those are like the three big concerns when it comes to astral travel. And I've been in a few places where I went beyond boundaries. I remember popping through what seemed like a membrane or boundary, and there was zip, nada. And I was like, oh.
try to find your way back.
Well, two things occurred that have convinced me that your survival modes are always intact, no matter what you're doing.
Mhm.
The first thing that occurred was my own voice going, you're in your bed at home, right? And the second thing was I felt this tug. And that's when I saw the cord, the silver cord.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's always on you to always bring you back. And so that is having that kind of experience several times while astral traveling is what has convinced me that we can't get stuck or lost. If we calmly breathe through it, because most of the time we're lucid when we're doing this, and just go, this is what we're doing. ABCs, always be cool, you know,
Always be cool. ABC. Yep.
and, we'll figure it out. Or just start telling yourself, I'm in bed, I'm in bed, I'm in bed, and wake up.
So when I was a kid, I met the son of a pretty famous underground comics artist, and I won't tell his name, but he was a pretty big deal back in the '60s, '70s, and his son was telling me that that his father was very into astral projection. Projection. He called it black meditation
Hmm.
because he was going into the void, and he would always say to his son, like, "Someday I'm just not coming back, and you got to like come to grips with that." And this is a little kid he's telling it to, and just one day he didn't come back, and kind of to me that I was like, I wonder if I'd like it too much, and that would be me, right? So I've kind of avoided that.
I can see why that would be a very scary thing to experience when you're young, and not especially not understanding it.
Yeah.
I could see that being extremely terrifying and very imprinting. And my husband, I call him an intergalactic time traveler, for example. He goes a lot of places. He sleeps a lot sometimes when he's not well. And um, there is a school of thought where some people think that the astral planes are actually the multiverses, and there are other universes out there, and there are other lives and such that we can live out there. And I'm agreeable to that. And I fully suspect one of these days my husband won't come back either, but he'll be happy.
Mm,
You know,
That's heavy.
yeah. Mm.
So Oberon says, Jesse C, are you wondering if who the artist is? I'll tell you offline, off sometime. You probably knew this guy. He was kind of a
oh, he's talking about that other comic guy. Okay.
yeah. So what's new? Are
Yeah.
you working on a new book, Kat?
Pardon me?
Are you working on a new book? Okay.
I have a different process than a lot of people. Okay. So, because
What
I've
are
had
your
a lot.
journals looking like these days? Is it starting to form something that somebody else would think maybe might be working on a new book?
Yes. Uh, so I have a different process than a lot of writers. I do minimal book research. I do experiential research. And so my students and I are going through a series of classes online and teach them video like this. And they are recorded. And so I will take copious notes afterwards. And a lot of that stuff will be fuel for my next book. And at some point, when I get a little thumb drive back from you guys, I've got some of it copied here. I will be doing some writing about the Nausicaa newspapers and some of the other stuff that I had donated to you guys.
That's really what I wanted to hear. That's excellent. Yeah.
Oh, I was so excited. Oh my God. I was so excited. This is why I was so excited. Some people out there may not know this. So I was sworn to secrecy and use only family information when it came to witchcraft for 50 years. So
yeah. You should talk about that a bit.
yeah, and so I did not know there was a witch school. I did not know there was a Gnostica or a Green Egg or any of those things out there. All that time, it was like being in a coma of a sorts, you know, and waking up going, oh my God. And so when all this stuff landed in my lap, there was my 50 years, every word of it in front of me. I was just elated. My husband didn't see me for weeks. I was buried in the office. You know, taking notes, calling Oz, asking questions, you know, various things of that nature. Hi, Jeannie. Jeannie's one of my students.
Hi, Gina.
And so, yeah, it was very exciting. And then when I contacted you guys, we started talking about possibly having something written up about that. And so I look forward to it because it'll be a whole lot of fun to dig out certain details or events and then be able to call up the living elders and go, hey, what really happened on this day? And to add that to a written piece, you know, will be quite something. But it'll take quite a while for that to occur.
That sounds like what do you think, Tony? Does that sound like the kind of book I'd like to read?
I think so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanted to mention that you have classes online, correct?
I do.
Yeah.
I have Earth Witch Cat Gina Cole group and page. And
Okay.
the group is where I advertise my classes and talk about those classes. They are a video class and it's a group class, and they're just $20 a piece once every 2 weeks. And also, that is a lot of my information is at catginacole.com. So my bio and my blog and some of my other stuff is there as well. And then I got it.
I think that's the site that I went to, the catginacole.com.
Yeah, and then I've got an author page at Llewellyn and of course at Amazon too.
Okay. And all of your classes are up there for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, mostly Facebook. I'm a Facebook person. Thank you, Stephen. As soon as I saw a lot of the pagan authors getting hacked on Instagram, I was gone. And I'm glad I did. There was some rough stuff that happened to some very prominent folk. You know, so I stick with Facebook, as touchy as it is. That and I am terrible at technology. Oh gosh.
And so some of your upcoming classes are, how would you describe them?
Well, currently we are near the end of the empathic skills section of classes. We've been doing now for about 9 weeks or so. And their homework this last week, we do some skills there, is to go out and be in a public place and feel people. Don't look, don't let your eyes lie to you, feel. So it's about exercising those empathic skills. And next it's debatable on if we are going to jump into learning straight from my book or if we're just going to jump into dreams. Dreams seems to be the favorite right now. The students are a big part of how classes go, given what they want to talk about, what's on their mind, what they need. I'm kind of a little bit of a different teacher that way. I'll pick a topic for us to talk about and go down that path, but we don't always stay there.
Right. Right. Understandable.
Yeah, and so it can be very personal and informing for the students that way. Very engaging.
Okay. Good. Good.
Yeah, now that I've mastered Zoom, thank the gods I have a personal assistant.
Stephen does it all. I don't know. I can push the link. That's about all I can do.
Same.
Yeah.
It's magic. What can I say?
Techno mage.
Yeah, yeah. So, there are some other things that when I was reading your book, so you kept this all completely underground, and you didn't really spend a lot of time with witches. And then what happened? Like one day you were just like, I'm going to go out there, or or
Well,
were you dragged kicking and screaming?
one day I met my husband,
Yeah,
and we went on a date in
yeah.
Ashland, Oregon, and there he knew where this little witch shop was, and he took me in there, and they offered a witch school. My mother was in a nursing home in the process of passing, and I told her about it, and she said, "Do it." And that was Rowan True Pagan Ministries. And within about a year and a half, I was leading in an ordained minister. They were so wonderful in helping me get over my fear of speaking what I knew, you know. And like I was telling you earlier, I had stage fright. I'd stutter and cry. It was very, very difficult. But the pause, sense, and scan skills I write about in my book helped me get over that. My husband thought it was amazing, my first interview. He saw me pause and he thought, uh oh, here we go. And I didn't. He was so elated and so happy for me that I could do that. Well, I haven't shut up since. you know.
My
and
secret is just pockets full of soda light.
oh, there you go. Yeah, nice. Um, and so then after I ran that for a while, I kind of branched off and created the Coven of the Rising Phoenix, which at my school, which is a 3-level curriculum, which the book is based on. And I handed that off last year to the next generation that I had trained to take over the Coven. And that's kind of what got me started, kind of the path.
Wow, that's cool. Um,
Steve, like you just, I'm
Peekaboo!
not in control here. I'm not in control.
yeah, I know. I know. I'm not really in control either. I don't know what's going on. So,
So there, when we start talking about the kinds of things that I'm doing.
yeah,
So I do a lot of neighborhood outreach to the local pagans, kind of on a one-on-one basis. For me, I left behind the promotion to continue doing the community work. So there's a lot of on-the-job training the next generation has in the coven. I am now teaching my own family tradition to my now 4 initiates. Um, and I'm also teaching online, like we talked about. And I started my own little antique resale business, which is kind of fun. But one of the great things I think is fun about having written a book is I get to meet all these other really, really wonderful authors.
yeah.
I want to give a shout out to a couple. Sally Crow really impressed me, and her book, Spirit Speakers, A Medium's Guide to Death and Dying, was amazing. It was like I found my own family tradition in her book.
Yeah,
Um,
you writing that down, Tony?
I am, yes.
Yeah.
and it was an amazing, amazing book to read. So thank you, Sally Crow, for that. And then Rachel Patterson, I never would have thought that someone with that kind of esteem would take the time of day with a little old country witch like me, and she has been there on and off ever since about 2012. And just recently, I got to read her book that's coming out soon, Practical Candle Magic. And I got to say, that's a resource that needs to be on everybody's shelf. that is an encyclopedia of candle magic that's coming out from Rachel
The
soon.
title sounds very familiar.
And then Ian Chambers, his book, The Witch Compass. Oh my goodness. I mean, you're doing traditional witchcraft in that book. Hands down, stunning book. So those were kind of my picks of books for 2022 and 2023 of new books.
Okay.
And being friends with them has been really wonderful. We're all just kind of supportive of each other, and we all kind of have the same feeling, that we want to just help out the pagan community.
Yeah. The pagan community is wonderful.
Yeah.
It is wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, I've got these down. So ultimately, if your husband hadn't dragged you in that show, who knows? Who knows?
Exactly. And if they had not helped me learn how to talk the words I needed, and that was kind of the other thing that led me to, hey, these labels are important, these words are important when it comes to discussing these things, to know what they are and be able to identify. And that was a big part of that. And I do a acknowledgement to them in the front of my book for that. And it was a big help, But, leave it to a triple fire once I get going on something,
Yeah, it's that's the beauty about ADD, right? Is the moment you see what you're in it, that's something that you can put all that attention that you're not putting on everything else.
I equate ADD or ADHD to walking in two worlds because that's pretty much what you're doing. Scientifically, psychologically speaking, it's a disassociation. It's a split between what's going on in the real world and what's going on in your mind. Well, I believe in taking defaults and making them assets.
Yeah.
And instead of ADD being a problem, it's like, ooh, I can use this in the spiritual world. And a lot of that's in this book too.
Yeah.
Maybe not in those exact words, but a lot of that is in there too. And so it's just like perception, like I say, perception and perspective is everything. Because without that, you can change everything in your world by changing your perception and perspective. Everything else will follow.
Right. I had a bunch of notes on that too, because I've marked up this book. I've marked it up. Where is it? Where is it? Manifesting. Yeah. Okay. Where is it? I had notes. I got notes. I'll talk to you later about this because I'll keep you forever.
Okay.
Yes.
Manifesting is really fun. My husband jokes about it on occasion because he says, all I have to do is tell Cat I want something, and within 5 or 6 days, it's in the house.
It works. It works. It does. It does. It absolutely does. And you were discussing the vacuum. Where is that in my notes?
Oh, the vacuum.
The vacuum of manifesting.
Well, yeah, I bring up the vacuum in my section of manifesting. However, the vacuum is a universal thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it crosses everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you leave a vacuum, the universe will fill it with something.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, just ask my friends and family. Every time I say I'm done teaching or every time I say I'm going to retire, it's like, oh, really? I think it's happened about 9 times now.
That's okay. It's okay. for the most
Kind
part.
of a running joke. It's almost reverse psychology on the universe at this point for me, because it's like, yeah, okay, well, this is it, and I don't know what I'm going to do next. Well, universe, I'm going to retire. And then I know the universe will bring me exactly what I need to do next.
Right.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
That's
So,
yeah.
so well, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us, Kat.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Very
I hope
glad
we
I
can,
made your acquaintance.
you as well. And I hope we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, let's get Oz on here sometime.
Right? Yeah. I would like to see kind of a panel,
Okay.
with like Oz and Phaedra and Aiden and myself
Mm.
or something, that would be a lot of fun. And yes, thank you, Tony. This little book right here, y'all are going to really enjoy it.
Oh, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And
I've
for
had a
us,
lot of people say they found themselves there.
oh yeah, definitely. A lot of the exercises that are in here. Like I said, as a kid growing up, not knowing how to use any of the gifts or what to do.
Yeah,
It
it's definitely the book I wish I'd had when I was younger.
puts a lot of my thoughts, the things that I was going through in perspective. And it's yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I,
thank you.
I don't have words. It's weird because you don't know how to describe it. Stephen and I were at lunch one time. This was a year or so ago. And he's talking to me, but I'm looking down at the floor. Because when you're looking, it's either I look up here or I look down there when I'm getting stuff. And Steven's going, he's trying to look at what I'm looking at, but I'm staring at the floor. And it's the pause. The pause.
That is the pause, the sense, and the scan. Exactly what that is. It's really quite interesting to try and deal with that when it comes on you spontaneously and you're in the middle of a conversation.
Yes. Yeah, because Steven thinks there's something on the floor. And
Was there a cockroach? What's
I
going on?
couldn't explain to him that I'm having a moment. I can't tell you, but something's coming through right now. But
I actually got to the point that at least I'm in the right crowd enough that I can say, "Excuse me, just a minute. I'm listening."
Yeah.
Give me a sec. And most people get that, but there are times and places they don't, and so I just blow it off. ADD, squirrel.
Yeah. Right. And thankfully, again, a lot of my friends are the same way. I'll be looking up and they'll go, what's happening? What do you get?
Thank you, Carrie Palmer, for your purchase.
What's that?
Carrie Palmer said she just purchased the book. I said,
good.
thank you.
Oh,
yeah.
Carrie, it's amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I will also be doing WitchCon in March.
Okay. Oh, yes. That's coming up. Oh, we're in 2020. I'm still in 2022. My life has been crazy. This way of getting people in distant location.
Yes, it sure does. Boy, I tell you what, I wouldn't have half the students that I do if it weren't for video conferencing. I would not have half the friends anymore because of COVID and isolation and my husband being an at-risk person. My social circle would be very, very small right now if it wasn't for video conferencing. So, yay to video conferencing.
Yeah.
For sure. And thank you all for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody that tuned in. Thank you, Kat, for writing your amazing book. It's I gotta say that whenever I get copies of it here in the gift shop, I'm not waving a copy around because guess what? It's sold out. And whenever I sell out of a book, I buy more, right? and I buy a few more than the previous one, and every time, and it keeps selling out. So congratulations on your success.
Well, thank you for being part of that.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you a question, and this is a question I'm probably putting you on the spot with.
Ooh, juicy.
Yeah, the cover. The cover. I love the cover.
Yeah.
I love the cover, but I know that with a lot of authors, they never get to choose. They don't get a choice for the most part. Is that right? Yes, no. They don't get to choose. So a lot of times
Correct.
they're a little disappointed with what the publisher or whoever did it. But at first I was like, but it's grown on me. It has grown on me, and I really love the cover.
And a big thank you to Ken Brown of Llewellyn, who did that cover.
Uh-huh.
I love it to pieces. And
Yeah.
thank you for not letting me have a choice, because I would not have done as good. And it's kind of cute because, my husband looks at it and he goes, "This reminds me of the Black Cat fireworks."
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it
Or Black
does.
Cat, the cap gun thing.
Yeah.
There's
That's what it
something
kind of
very
reminds me
familiar.
of.
It's something very familiar, and I think that's probably what it is. But yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
So,
Julia Ann Hopkins is asking, what is WitchCon? WitchCon is, I guess now because of COVID, a big, huge video conference that is based out of Salem, Massachusetts, and run mostly by Christian Day and some of his friends and other folks. And so it is like a big video witch conference of classes that will be coming in March.
they made it pretty easy. Witchcon.com, I think, is the website.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always just filled with a bunch of amazing videos and lectures.
Oh, yeah. Over on sale, Rachel Patterson. Oh, gosh, there was a handful of others, and now I've forgotten in my little Swiss cheese brain. But yeah.
I think I saw Thorne is going to be on it. Thorne Mooney.
Yes.
I saw you were on it. Yeah, big, always a stacked lineup.
Yeah, a good lineup, and it's like 3 days. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, because we did it. We did it a few years ago when we were on a Sunday. So
yeah,
that's
right.
I really like that they're going to have, like the Llewellyn Con did, that they have those available once you pay for that service or whatever. They are available to you anytime to watch, so you get to see them all if you want to.
Yeah.
So I want to make a comment about your book cover. Can you put it up for the screen? When I saw that book cover, I loved it, and I, as a real retailer, I was just like, this book's going to do pretty well here. Like, I do not see this because it stands out, it pops, it has a bunch of things. I was just like, right on. So it was never a surprise to me. So
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's a good
your
cover.
next book, have run it by me first, and I'll
okay. Okay. Yeah. All right.
So Oberon's back, lost connection, finally got back in. All right, Oberon, you came right when we're about to wrap up here, I think. I don't know. What do y'all say? Yeah. All right, let's do it again sometime soon. You're a very wonderful guest.
Thank you. And you guys have a good night.
Is that Angus yelling there? Angus agrees?
Angus agrees?
Angus. You got an Angus?
No, I hear the dog barking, and I thought it was yours.
Yeah. I've got two dogs.
Angus.
I've got 2 dogs and 2 twin black cats.
Okay.
So I thought that was your Tony. I thought that was your Angus.
No, that's not my Angus. He's I'm on the 3rd floor. He's waiting. Yeah.
All right, everyone.
All right.
Love you, and thank you all so very, very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. And to everybody out there in Streamland, we have a class on February 4th. Matthew Ash McKernan is going to be doing a thing on weird craft here at the Buckle Museum. You can get your tickets at bucklemuseum.org. And one other thing that I want to say to everyone out there, in video land. Stay witchy, my friends.
Yeah. All right. Good night.